Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we have made it. It is Super Bowl Sunday. On Sunday, the Eagles will take on the Chiefs in New Orleans. Should be a great game between these two teams. The Chiefs trying for a record third consecutive Super Bowl, and the Eagles trying to win their second Super Bowl in 8 years. This is their third Super Bowl appearance in 8 years. They were here 2 years ago. As we all know, they lost Super Bowl 57, 38-35. That was an outstanding performance by Jalen Hurts. But in the end, Patrick Mahomes outdid him. But in this game, this should be a great game between both teams. It should be a great game between these two teams, and we'll get right into it. We'll get right into what both these teams need to do to win this game. And we'll start with the Chiefs. What the Chiefs need to do to win this game. And first and foremost, I know this is an obvious one, but first and foremost, they need to contain. They need to contain Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has been absolutely phenomenal this entire. I hate to say as a Giants fan, but he's been absolutely phenomenal all season long. I mean, he's just been great. I mean, he was the reason why the Eagles got past the Rams, ran for 200 yards in that game. So, number one thing the Chiefs got to do to win this game is they have got to contain Saquon Barkley. Yes, he's going to get his yards. He probably could get close. He's probably going to, even if they hold him to like 90 yards rushing, that would be a really good job because he's going to get his yards. We know that, but they need to contain him. They can't let him go crazy because if he goes crazy, that's going to open up the play action game, and the Eagles are going to score points. So they got to contain Saquon Barkley. Number two for the Chiefs, protect Patrick Mahomes. And because this Eagles pass rush is really good with Jalen Carter, with Jordan Davis, with Josh Sweat, with Nolan Smith. This Eagles pass rush is good. They got to be. I mean, it's not the defensive line they had the first time they played them in the Super. The time they played them 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, but it's still a really good defensive line, and they've got to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes. They got to be able to give him time because the Chiefs' running game is not great. The Chiefs run a very average running game, so they're gonna have to rely on Mahomes to throw the ball to win this game. So the big key in this game, another big key for the Chiefs is they have got to protect Patrick Mahomes. And then number three, they got to limit the Eagles once they get into the red zone. They really got to do a good job limiting the Eagles once they get into the red zone. Because you saw what happened to the Eagles when they played the Commanders. They scored 7 touchdowns in that game. They got to hold them to 3 points when they get into the red zone. Because the Chiefs don't have the better team in this game. They got the better coach and quarterback. They don't have the better roster. So if they could, when the Eagles when they get to the red zone, if they could blitz, play man coverage, definitely have Trent McDuffie on AJ Brown. That's gonna be an interesting matchup to watch in this game. When they get into the red zone, that'd be a huge key for the Chiefs to limit the Eagles in the red zone. So my 3 keys are to this game. They got to be able to contain Saquon. They got to be able to limit the Eagles in the red zone, and they got to be able to protect Mahomes. Justin, what are your keys for the Chiefs?
My keys for Kansas City this weekend, yeah, kind of to my point, kind of similar to yours. One of them is Patrick Mahomes and protecting him. I have the Chiefs got to get rid of the ball quickly because as you mentioned, the offensive line, hasn't been totally great. I know they've been moving some pieces around this during the playoffs lately. And again, that one Super Bowl loss we saw Patrick Mahomes in against Tampa Bay, their offensive line was decimated, and Tampa Bay took an absolute advantage of that. So the Eagles have a good pass rush. So if they can get after Mahomes and make him, have to get rid of that ball quick, because you let him sit back there, because if he sits back there, you know, um, unprotected, or the Eagles could rack up some sacks there, and could give Kansas City some problems. Number two, same one too for you, is Saquon Barkley. Just you can't let him take over the game. And the run defense hasn't been great so far in the playoffs. Mixon almost had 5 yards of carry. Kind of battling injury too. And James Cook 2 weeks ago had 6.5 yards per carry. If Barkley goes over, I think like 150, something like that. Like I think Kansas City could be a lot of trouble. So, they can't let Barkley take over the game. And my last one is, be careful blitzing Jalen Hurts this year, because Spagnuolo will bring the pressure. They bring it extra rushes 30% of the time, and and Hurts against passers, against five or more passers this year, he's like 84 for 21, 84 for 121, over 1,000 yards, 500 yards after the catch, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he's done pretty well against the blitz this year too. So
you're right. Very good against man coverage.
Yeah, yeah. So if that happens, and AJ Brown, they got some receivers that can make some big plays, big chunk plays there. Kansas City could be in some trouble there.
They definitely could be. Yeah, Spag. Yeah, you're right. Spags. Yeah, he could bring some blitzes, but he's got to watch it, because the Eagles could definitely tear them apart on the blitzes. They might have to just rely on some at times rushing four, which is why I think the Eagles move the ball, because I think their offensive line protects Jalen Hurts in this game. I do think the Eagles move the ball in this game. But now, speaking of the Eagles, what do they have to do to win this game? And I'll start, and it's pretty obvious. Saquon's going to continue to be what he's been all year, just an outstanding player. One of the leading candidates for MVP. He's just got to continue to be outstanding. He's been outstanding all season long, all postseason long, and we'll get to him about if this is the greatest running back season we've ever seen, because he's just been so good. And if he continues to be, he's just got to continue to be good. That's definitely one of the biggest keys. And number two, on the flip side, the Eagles got to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. As you saw in the Super Bowl 4 years ago, when a team got pressure on Mahomes, it really hurt. It really hurt Mahomes. It really affected Mahomes. So definitely get pressure. Now, no blitzing. Obviously, we were talking about not blitzing Jalen Hurts. You absolutely cannot blitz Patrick Mahomes. You absolutely cannot do that. But you can get pressure. And with this offensive line, yes, it has been improved since moving Joe Tooney to left tackle, but they definitely get pressure with four. I mean, Jalen Carter, I think could have a big game. One of the edge rushers, Nolan Smith or Josh Sweat, they could have big games too. So yeah, so definitely getting pressure on Mahomes. And number three, as we say a lot when you play the Chiefs, contain Travis Kelce. If you got to double him, if you got to have Gardner Johnson or Blankenship on him, or if you got to double him with like Zach Bond, that would be smart. The other Chiefs receivers do not demand a double team at all. Worthy doesn't, Hopkins doesn't, Hollywood Brown doesn't, but Travis Kelce does demand a double team. We've seen how good he is in the postseason. So my three keys to this one for the Eagles: Saquon be great, get pressure on Mahomes, and contain Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I like your last point there, because I have one that's similar to you here with Travis Kelce. Yeah, you can't let him take over the game. You got to double him. You got to make one of those other wide receivers kind of, beat you. And if they do, hey, hats off to you. And because so far in the playoffs, the Eagles, Zach Ertz had 11 catches for 104 yards, and Tyler Higbee had 7 catches for 54 yards. So 2 to 3 games, the tight ends had a big impact on him. So if they allow Kelce to have a big day, Philly's gonna be in some trouble. And my second one is get the ball to AJ Brown. He's their number one wide receiver. He's finally coming off a big day against Washington. He 96 yards, receiving a touchdown. And the first 2 games in the playoffs, he didn't do a ton. And he's your big kind of playmaker at the wide receiver. I know he's been very hit or miss at times this year, especially in the 2 playoff games. But if he has a big game, they're gonna need him to have a huge day. And my third one is for the Eagles: don't leave points on the field, especially when you get in the red zone in Kansas City, because we talked about it last week. The Bills had a chance to go up 2 scores. They get something the 4th down. Like, if you give Kansas City an extra chance, or if you don't put them away, they're going to make you pay for it. So the Eagles, you can't settle for 3 points. You got to get 7. that's going to come down to kicking too, because Elliott's been a little shaky too, like a missed extra point, a missed 35-yard field goal. You can't leave points on the board if you're the Eagles in this game, because Patrick Mahomes will make you pay for it in that Chiefs offense.
He definitely did, and you made a good point about not keeping the Eagles keeping points off the board, and also the special teams. That's a great point with the special teams, Jake Elliott, because right now, if it comes down to a field goal, to a game-winning field goal, who are you trusting, Harrison Butker or Jake Elliott? You're definitely trusting Jake Elliott, and we don't talk about special teams enough. Harrison Butker or Josh Elliott. So yeah, we don't talk about special teams enough, but it could definitely play a factor, because we've seen Jake Elliott definitely miss some kicks this year.
Yeah, we have. He missed a couple in the playoffs so far. He's missed like an extra point too. So yeah, he's been shaky. Where Buckner, he was it this year? Last year he was a little shaky at just like a week or two. But he's pretty steady. You can rely on him to be pretty effective in not getting all of his kicks. So yeah, if it comes down to it, which it seems like it's probably going to come down to a one possession game. Yeah, that extra point, that mixed field goal, can make all the difference.
It definitely can. It definitely can. Now we're gonna go to our game prediction, and for this game, again, I see it like 2 years ago being a very, very close competitive game. But I think as we said when we talked about what teams have to do to win, I think it's going to come down to the red zone. I think it's going to come down to executing in the red zone. I think the Eagles are actually going to outplay them in this game. I think they're going to outplay them in this game. But why I think the Chiefs are going to win this game are two things. I think Mahomes makes less mistakes than Jalen Hurts. I think Hurts has a turnover, just like he played great in that game 2 years ago, but he did it that one big turnover that cost the Eagles 7 points. He had that fumble that cost the Eagles where Nick Bolt ran in for a touchdown, so he cost the Eagles points there. I think Mahomes makes less mistakes than Hurts. And the biggest reason why I think the Chiefs are going to win this game is I think the Chiefs are going to tighten up in the red zone. I think they are going to hold the Eagles to field goals. I think they're going to hold the Eagles to 2 or 3 field goals in the red zone. And I think when the Chiefs get into the red zone, they're going to score touchdowns on every possession. I think it's going to come down to the execution in the red zone, and that's why I think the Chiefs three-peat here. That's why I think the Chiefs three-peat. It should be a great game. I think that Mahomes plays really well. I think he has a really good game. I think that the Eagles move the ball on offense. I think it's going to be tough for the Chiefs to stop the Eagles offensively. I think that they're able to protect Jalen Hurts. I think they move the ball. I think they get down the red zone, 3 or 4 times, but I just don't think they execute as well as the Chiefs. And that's why I think the Chiefs beat the Eagles for the second time in 3 years, and they win their 3rd straight Super Bowl. I got the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl 28-23. I picked the Chiefs before the season started, not over the Eagles, but over the Lions. But I picked the Chiefs before the season started, and I definitely stuck with it even when they won all those close games. Now, it was easier to stick with it this year than last year when it looked like they were getting eliminated in the first round. But I definitely, even when people were saying, this is gonna be Buffalo's year, it's gonna be Baltimore's year. No, Baltimore's year. No, I stuck with the Chiefs, and I'm happy I did, because they're in the Super Bowl, not the Ravens, not the Bills. So I am going with the Chiefs to win their 3rd straight Super Bowl. I got the Chiefs 28-23 over the Eagles. But Justin, can the Eagles get revenge from 2 years ago and stop the Chiefs from making history?
No, I got the Chiefs here as well, 27-23. Yeah, you mentioned it at the top. I think the Eagles do have the better team, outside the quarterback and head coach. But I think the head coach is a huge mismatch here. And Kansas City, I think, won 17 straight one-score games. Like they have their voodoo magic, whatever. Like they just find a way to win close games. And I think yet again, they're going to find a way to win another close game. I do think Hurts plays pretty well. I think Barkley's having a big game on the ground. But yeah, you mentioned it's a red zone. I think Kansas City knows how to score touchdowns. I think Philly probably settles for a field goal or two, and that's going to cost them this game. And I just think Kansas City's been here before. They know how to get it done. And they find a way yet again to pull it off and get the three-peat.
And you talked about the coaching mismatch. You're definitely right about that. You're definitely right about the coaching mismatch. Now, Nick Sirianni's better than I've got Sirianni, but he's definitely better. He's definitely right now. I'd definitely say he's probably a top 10 coach. I mean, you get 2 Super Bowls in here. I think I know rosters. He's had the best roster in the league both times. He's gotten there. Probably arguably the time in 22 he had the best roster, and this year he definitely had the best roster in the league. So yeah, it's definitely more about Roseman than him. But still, you would say I still right now say he's a top 10 coach in the league. And then Andy Reid goes without saying is the best coach in football. And it is a coaching mismatch. It is. And I think Yeah, I think it's a quarterback mismatch. And it's a coaching mismatch, and that's why I think the Chiefs win it. I think the coach and quarterback, the Eagles have the better team. There's no doubt you can't argue that the Chiefs roster is better. The Eagles roster is clearly better than the Chiefs, but the coach and the quarterback are much better with the Chiefs. And I mean, I'm not saying nothing against Hurts and Sirianni. They're good. They're definitely not close to the level though of Reid and Mahomes. And that's why ultimately I think that that's going to be why the Chiefs win this game. You talked about the one-score games; they're so good in one-score games, and I think that's going to help them too. So yeah, as you said it, the coach, quarterback, and one-score games are a big reason why you think the Chiefs are going to win, and they're a big reason why I think the Chiefs are going to win.
No, I agree with you. I agree with all the points you made there, and yeah, they just found a way. And yeah, I had this matchup going in the season, and
Yeah, you had it. You called it. You predicted it.
yeah, I was hoping I'd jinx the Chiefs, but that did not happen. And,
you can't jinx the Chiefs.
No, I can't. I'm unable to do that. So yeah, we'll it should be a game, and yeah, I think Mahomes is probably fourth quarter makes a big play, and it puts the Chiefs over the top in this one, and yeah, I do think the Eagles. We mentioned it. Think the Eagles do have a better roster, but yeah, just the Mahomes, the Reid factor. They just figure it. They always figure out when they look dead and buried. They always find a way to get out of it and find a way to win another football game.
Now, speaking of Mahomes, if he wins this game, it would be his fourth Super Bowl championship in his first 7 years as a starter. The big question is, we have the GOAT, Tom Brady. He's won 7, and if Mahomes wins this, he would get to 4. Does a win for Mahomes put him in the conversation as the greatest quarterback of all time? And I say no. Now, I think already he's the second greatest quarterback of all time, but I still don't think he's with Brady. I still don't think he's with Brady because he's going to have to. I think to get to Brady, he's going to have to win at least, I'd say 6, and even maybe even leave Kansas City and win one of these. Maybe win with another coach because you saw Brady. He won 6 Super Bowls, and his 7th he won with another team and another coach and another system. So that's why Brady to me is just. Is still even if Mahomes wins 3 straight, which Brady never did. He never won 3 straight. I still think that Brady clearly would have the edge over him. Even if Mahomes wins this one, I still think Brady would clearly have the edge over him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think until he wins 6 or 7, he can't be in that conversation. And yeah, with Brady going to Tampa and doing what he did there his final year, and the other thing too with Brady is a lot of those matchups too in the playoffs, Peyton Manning he beat a lot, and that's a arguably top 3-4 quarterback of all time. And Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson are pretty good, but they're not in that level yet either. Like Tom Brady got most of those matchups against Peyton Manning done. So I get it. It's very similar what the Chiefs are doing, what the Patriots are doing of just dominating their division. Getting the home field advantage, not really losing much in the playoffs. And but like the thing too at Kansas City this year, and it's not, I know they don't have the wide receivers, but it feels like it's a ton of dink and dunk with them this year. Like it's not like Mahomes. I think Mahomes this year's like 52% passing, like 9-10 yards downfield this year. Like it's not great, but I know they don't wholly have all the weapons this year either. But yeah, I still don't put him in that category yet. He's getting up there, and would I be shocked if one day he's got 7 or 8? No, but yeah, I don't put him in that conversation just yet.
Yeah, and you brought up Peyton Manning, and Brady beat Peyton Manning twice in the playoffs. Brady beat him, in the AFC Championship game, and he beat him he beat him twice in the divisional round and the AFC Championship game. But what people forget about those 2 years he beat Peyton in the playoffs was he beat Peyton in the regular season. And these weren't games. And here's the thing, which which angers me that people say, "Oh, he was a game manager." He never was a game manager. When he won a Super Bowl in 2001, he was a good quarterback. And when the Super Bowl in 2003 and 2004, he was a really good quarterback as well. Yeah, maybe Peyton had the slight edge on him, but in those 2 games in 2003, he beat Peyton 38-34 in his house. And then the next year in 2004, he beat Peyton 27-24. So and if the Patriots, if they don't win those 2 games, they're going to Indy in the playoffs instead of having Peyton go out into the cold and play in Foxborough. So yeah, listen, Yeah, but Josh Allen has had success against him in the regular season, but he hasn't had in the postseason. And Lamar Jackson hasn't had much success at all against Mahomes. So yeah, I would say too, the competition is I think a little bit better for Brady because also in that Brady went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. You had those Steeler teams that were good. Now Brady owned those Steeler teams, but they were good. They won a couple Super Bowls in that stretch. The Ravens, they gave Brady a lot of trouble. My team, the Giants, they gave Brady trouble. So I think there was a little bit of better competition too. I think you made a good point there with Peyton Manning. So I think too why I think Mahomes I wouldn't put him in the conversation with Brady if he wins this one. Is I think there's a little bit of better competition that Brady had to face.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's not take away because like the Bills and Ravens been pretty good, but like they just have not shown you that they get over the top. And I know, yeah, like Pittsburgh did once or twice. The Ravens, won in 2012. They won a Super Bowl. I know they haven't made it back since. Indy gave them some trouble. And even that team in Denver when Peyton won it, they went.
Yep. Yeah, they beat them twice in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, like that the AFC Championship game they lost. I think Denver had 9-10 sacks in that game. Like
a lot of sacks, yeah.
That defense was ferocious. So yeah, the Patriots. Yeah, I definitely think competition a bit better, and that Brady and Belichick had to fix that. It took them the decade. They had a decade-long spell there without getting a title, and then they won a couple more at the end there. So yeah, it's not to take away from Kansas City and all that, but yeah, like I just until we see more, until we see Lamar and Josh Allen be able to get over the hump in one of these, it's tough to kind of, he hasn't had the same type of competition Mahomes has that Brady had to go through in some of those playoffs.
Exactly. Now we shift over to Andy Reid, and here's the other thing: does a win put Andy Reid in the conversation as the greatest coach of all time? Because he would win 3 straight, something that Belichick never did. Now, I think this one's a little bit closer. Because look at the success that Reid has had without Mahomes. He's had success without Mahomes. I mean, he's won a bunch of playoff games without Mahomes. Got to a Super Bowl without Mahomes. Got to like 5 or 6 conference championship games without Mahomes. And then you look at Belichick. Belichick has a terrible record. It's like 20 games under 500 without Tom Brady. So this one is closer, but I'm still going to say no. And I think the reason why I'm going to say no is because the lack of success Andy Reid had against Bill Belichick in the playoffs. He lost that Super Bowl to him. He lost in the playoffs. Remember that game in the playoffs when they didn't even they were taking their time. They were down like 2 scores, and it was like they were running out the clock. They were just taking their time with Alex Smith that game against the Patriots in the playoffs. And then he lost to him in the AFC Championship game again in 2018. So I'm going to say no. I still am going to say no. I think for Reid to get to Belichick, I think he's got to get to 6. I think he's got to get to 6 because of Belichick's success against him in the postseason.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think he's also got a 6. He's been unbelievable. 26 years he's been a head coach. 26, 27 years he's been roaming the sidelines, and yeah, Bill got him in the Super Bowls as well when Reid was still in Philly. Like, yeah, Bill's kind of had his number. I know everybody, the Bill criticism is the record without Brady there, but I get it. I think part of that is too because in a way it was his fault. It was his own doing. His roster construction was
exactly
awful, but they did. And Andy Reid has done a pretty good job of. I know he's done a pretty good job drafting guys and all that and keeping, developing talent here. But yeah, I think, Reid's got to get to 6. He's done a really great job of, with this Chiefs team rebuilding or not even rebuilding, but the way he's developed Mahomes in here. But yeah, I think for him to be in that conversation with Bill, he's got to win 6.
And here's the thing. Yes, you can say, Reid's had a better record without Mahomes and Bill has been garbage without Brady. But here's the thing. Bill never really had a quarterback outside of Brady. He never had a quarterback for a long period of time. Like Reid, in Philadelphia, he had Donovan McNabb, who was a really good quarterback. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a really, really good. McNabb is a really good quarterback. Alex Smith was a pretty good quarterback, and he had McNabb for over a decade, and then he had Alex Smith for five years. So he had a pretty good quarterback for a sustained period of time. Look at Belichick without Brady. I mean, he had Bernie Kosar for 2 years. He had Drew Bledsoe for 1 year. I mean, the only quarterback he had out of Brady for a sustained period of time for a long period of time. And I don't know if they even say a long period of time with Mac Jones for 4 years, but Mac Jones wasn't that good. So I would, yeah. If you want to say the records with Reed's record without Mahomes is much better than Belichick's record without Brady. But here's the thing: Reed had two pretty good quarterbacks in that. Had two pretty good quarterbacks in that time when Belichick, yeah, he coached Bledsoe, but it was for 1 year. So I think that definitely plays into it too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because being that the unbelievable quarterback, and I know was very close to going hump there a couple times with Philly, and yeah, Alex Smith had had a good year, or had a good career, and yeah, he had him. So yeah, Mahomes. I mean, not Mahomes. Reed, yeah, has not had to deal with the Mac Jones, and he hasn't really dealt with having like a bad quarterback, but that's credit to Reed. But again, that probably more to Reed of being more of an offensive minded head coach and probably
Yep.
seeing that
Yep.
than Bill being the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
But yeah, yeah, like Reed hasn't had that problem being having a bad quarterback, running his offense, and but like I think he really helped rebuild Alex Smith's career too, because I felt like before he got to Reed. I know
he had a pretty good year. He had a
little,
pretty good with Harbaugh in 11, but still, yeah, he was an average quarterback.
Yeah, because like he didn't really live up to the number one overall pick, but I think Reed did a pretty good job of trying to get him as close as of trying to live up to that one, to that status. But yeah, I think Bill, that's Bill kind of not yet. So yeah, it's been a difference there of Reed not having that bad quarterback that kind of Bill dealt with there, but that's because of Bill's wrong of his own doing.
Yeah, it was kind of Bill's of his own doing as the general manager, and that's why he's not. Shouldn't even be close to the question as a general manager all the time. He was a very above average to average GM, Bill Belichick. But yeah, and you brought up a good point about how he developed offensive quarterbacks and stuff, Reed. But I think the difference is I'd take Spagnuolo over McDaniels. Honestly, I would, and I think that Bill was a little bit more. I think Bill during the Patriot dynasty had a little bit more input than Reed has had on the Chiefs defense during their dynasty. So that's why I definitely don't think Reed right now is in the conversation with Bill. And as I said earlier, the 0-3 in the postseason against Belichick.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, Spags has done an unbelievable job rebuilding that defense, and because that defense was putrid the first, when he first took that over, and he's done a really nice job. And McDaniels did a really nice job with as the Patriots OC there for a while, and we've seen how it, has been with an OC. We'll find out a lot about McDaniels now with Drake Mack.
Yep,
we're really going to find out.
You're going to learn a lot about McDaniels because McDaniels really hasn't had success without Brady and Belichick.
Yeah, so we're going to find out a lot. So maybe that turns the next couple years, maybe. But Drake May's got to win a couple Super Bowls before that conversation happens.
Yeah, exactly. Now shifting over to the Eagles, the biggest acquisition. The Eagles in the offseason made a huge acquisition, signing Saquon Barkley, and he's had an unbelievable year, 100 yards short of Eric Dickerson's record. He's had a phenomenal year. He was great in the playoffs. And the big question is Barkley having the best season a running back has ever had? Is Barkley having the best season a running back has ever had? And I look at the great running back seasons. I look at Terrell Davis in 1998. I look at Barry Sanders in 97. I look at Adrian Peterson in 2012. I look at LaDainian Thomas in 2006. I think combined regular season and postseason, this is it. The closest would be Terrell Davis, but let's be honest. In Shanahan's scheme, a ton of running backs have had big years. A ton of running backs have had great years in Shanahan's scheme. I think this is a lot. This is showing you this season showing you how great Saquon is. I know the offensive line is great, but this is showing you when healthy how great Saquon is. I'm going to say this is the best season. I hate to say it as a Giants fan. And Joe Shane calling him a $12 million back, but I got to say this is the best season a running back has ever had.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, you mentioned all the great ones before that. You kind of put in the conversation, but yeah, what he's done for the postseason, what he's done throughout the regular season, and back then too was much more of like a, still a lot of teams run the football, kind of that 90 style of offense, and now you've seen a lot, lots put kind of on the QB, and I think he's really kind of helped transform this offense, and he's been phenomenal because when he was with the Giants, I always thought he was a boom or bust running back, and I think that now is much more on the Giants more than it was on Barkley, and you can kind of really see that now. And
you're right about that.
So yeah, so
Yeah,
I,
you're
I
definitely
agree.
right about that.
It's the best run back season we've seen.
Crazy to say it. We thought he was going to be good, but not have that be historically good, and he has been historically good for this Eagles team this year. He's been phenomenal. Now moving on to the guy who went out and acquired and signed Saquon Barkley, and that's Howie Roseman, and he's done a great job as the GM of the Eagles. Was the GM when they won a Super Bowl in 2017. Built the roster that got him to the Super Bowl in 2022. The question is does this win, does a win make Howie Roseman the best GM in football? And I'm going to say right now, it doesn't matter. To me, he's the best GM in football right now. Seeing what he's done, and what I just mentioned, being the GM of a team that won the Super Bowl in 2017, building that team in 2022, and really, filling the holes that they lost in free agency in 2023 because they had to pay Jalen Hurts. What he's done there has been outstanding. He pretty much replaced Jerron Hargrave was great for the Eagles in 2022. He replaced him with Jalen Carter. TJ Edwards was really, really good in 2022. He replaced him with Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond. You look at the corner. James Bradbury was pretty good in 2022. And Darius Slay has been good. Darius Slay, his play has tailed off a little bit, but look at what he's done. Got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean with the first two picks. Outstanding draft picks. Nolan's getting Nolan Smith on the edge. So I think he's done a phenomenal job. And right now, I don't care if they win or lose. To me, he's the best general manager in the NFL because you can make arguments for Brett Veach, and Brett Veach has done a really good job too. The draft picks on defense of Bolton, of Korlafis, of McDuffie. And then Creed Humphrey. The draft picks he's made there have been great, but didn't hire Andy Reid. Didn't trade up and draft Patrick Mahomes. So, I still think Veach is definitely behind. Even though he has 3 Super Bowl rings, yeah, he's definitely the weak link of the whole of this dynasty. So, and then you look at Brad Holmes in Detroit. He's done a great job. He still hasn't won a Super Bowl. Same thing with John Lynch. Les Snead, yes, he's won a Super Bowl, but the way he did it isn't the way you really should be doing it, trading all those draft picks. So I'm going to say Howie Roseman. I don't care if they win or lose. He's the best GM in football.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I think he's built an unbelievable roster, and yeah, he's done a really nice job of filling the holes because that secondary was a mess last year, and they figured that out. And like Jalen Carter fell in their lap, and I know there were some at the time there were some questions with about the character, but it hasn't really seemed to be much of a problem. Since he's been an Eagle there, so he's done an unbelievable job, and because Nick Sirianni is one of the few head coaches left that's not really a specialist on either side of the ball. He's not so, and yeah, and I think Sirianni's done a nice job this year, and he's done, but and like Jalen Hurts, they just built town around Jalen Hurts, and he's not afraid either to go for like that kind of big swing of a move. And for the most part, it's worked out for him. Sometimes, you see guys kind of miss on that, and it turns in, doesn't turn. It turns out pretty bad, but he's done a pretty good job even when he's gone out there and tried to make the big moves, and it's panned out for him. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think he's the best GM right now in football.
Yeah, I hate to say it as a Giants fan again, but he is. Right now. He is the best GM in football. And with him in this division and with Jaden Daniels in this division, it's going to be a very, very difficult time for Giant and Cowboy fans for the next decade to have success. Now we will move on to one of the biggest stories in the NFL outside of the Super Bowl, and that's Myles Garrett. And he said on Monday that he wants out of Cleveland, and who could blame him? That organization's a disaster. They traded for Deshaun Watson. He's been absolutely terrible. At times, I get upset about guys that want to leave their team, but how could you blame Myles Garrett? I know he had that incident, 5 years ago with the helmet, but it seems like he's grown up from that. And I mean, how could you blame Myles Garrett for wanting to leave the Browns? I mean, that organization's an absolute disaster. Andrew Berry will probably be fired. If they trade Garrett, Andrew Berry will probably be fired at the end of next season when they win like 3 or 4 games. So to me, I don't blame Myles Garrett for this. And I think the biggest thing, the thing is which teams where is he going to go to? Who's most likely to go to? And I got 5 teams where he's most likely to go to. And number 1 on the list to me is the Commanders. Ton of cap space. You got to stop the run. That you saw in the NFC Championship game. You pretty much saw all season long. That was an issue. Need a guy that can stop the run. He's one of the best players in the league. We both stop the run, pressure on the quarterback. They have the cap space, 3rd most cap space in the league. So, and they have a first round pick they could trade, and it's a late first round pick. So I think they definitely be willing to trade that. So I think the Commanders are my first choice. Second choice, I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. They got to go for it now. Again, a late first round pick. You're still 11th in cap space. Aiden Hutchinson will be back, but he's coming off an injury, so you'd like to have another guy there. So I think Detroit would be. There were rumors at the trade deadline that this could happen too. So I think that would Detroit would definitely make sense. Number 3 to me is the Chargers. You got the 5th most cap space. Khalil Mack is a free agent, so and they definitely need an edge rusher. So the Chargers, that team would make sense there. Number 4, the Packers. They would make sense because they need another edge rusher aside from Rashawn Gary. The 14th in cap space. And then number 5, I'm just throwing the Cowboys out there because he's from Dallas, and but it's going to be brutal for the Cowboys to do it because their salary cap, they're pretty much in cap hell with Dak's contract, with CD's contract, with Micah's potential contracts. They're pretty much cap hell. So my 5 teams are the Commanders, Lions, Chargers, Packers, Cowboys.
Yeah, a couple of the same here. I have number 1 flip flopped with you here. I have Detroit number 1. The defensive concerns for the Lions, we saw that. I know they had a ton of injuries down the stretch, but the DC Aaron Glenn's now going to the Jets. Home is never shy about making a move like this. And look, Goff isn't getting any younger either. Like that Super Bowl window kind of is shrinking. And hey, you had a guy like Myles Garrett who's going to change that defense very quickly. He's going to be huge. Number 2, I have Washington. We saw it, their season end, with a horrible defense, allowing 55 points in that game. Dante Fowler had 10 half sacks, but he's about to be a free agent, so they lose him. So he's a guy that they could plug in right away. Young team, young quarterback would be huge. Number 3, I have the Packers as well here. I know they talked about adding. I think the GM said they want to add more pass rushers without kind of having to without having to blitz as much. And will they give up the draft capital for that? They in that division too. It's such a tough division. You would love to kind of get another defensive piece there in Green Bay. And then the 4th team had the Bears. The pass rush and defense was disappointing this year. They had 40 sacks, which is middle of the pack, and Montez Sweat only had 5.5 who led the team. So, be definitely an upgrade. They have a ton of picks. They have 3 picks in the top 41 this year, and they do have money to spend as well. Then the 5th one, I got my New England Patriots. I know it's probably a long shot. I know
that's a long shot because they're gonna have to get for the 4th pick.
You're gonna have to. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if you can get Garrett. I'd be okay giving it the 4th overall pick.
Wow,
I'd be okay. I'd be okay. I don't think there's a difference maker at number 4.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Even Abdul Carter, you don't think Abdul Carter, and you get him on a rookie deal.
Yeah,
You wouldn't do Abdul Carter. Yeah, I think
Abdul Carter.
Get him on a rookie deal. I would do Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
But you have a good point that there really isn't outside of him a real difference maker. So if you have to give up the 4th pick, this would be the guy to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And Mike Vrabel was just in Cleveland last year as an analyst, so I assume they have some bit of a
they got a
relationship. So maybe Vrabel could convince them to come over, sign long term, because the Patriots need impact guys right away, and Myles Garrett would absolutely bring that.
Absolutely, he definitely would. Now the NFL honors are tomorrow night. They'll announce who wins MVP. And we talked about this last week when the Bills, a couple weeks ago, when the Bills and the Ravens played, and it looks like the top 3 guys are going to be Lamar, Josh Allen, and Saquon Barkley. For me though, I'm going with Josh Allen. I'm going with the favorite. I'm going with Josh Allen. The way he carried this team to the conference championship game when he lost Stephon Diggs. Remember the preseason expectations. Now, I picked the Bills to win the division, but remember preseason expectations. You were hearing, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, the Dolphins would win this division. But the Bills didn't only just win this division, they won it handedly with Josh Allen. I think, to me, he should be an MVP, and it's hard to give Lamar a 3rd MVP without even getting to a Super Bowl. I think Josh Allen should be. This is Josh Allen. I know Lamar had a historic season, but what happened in the playoffs? He threw a pick and he fumbled. He cost his team 7 points. I know Mark Andrews dropped that ball. I get it, but I'm going with Josh Allen here. Josh Allen, to me, he's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. To me, I think he had as good or even a better year than Lamar. So I'm going with Josh Allen as my MVP.
Yeah, I went with Josh Allen as well here. He had an amazing season, 40 total touchdowns this year, and for the first time since 2019, he had less than 10 interceptions this year. Like, he really cut that down because that was a huge kind of thing in his game, of a huge weakness of the turnovers were costly with him at times. And They did a nice job this year, cutting that down. And yeah, you mentioned the Diggs. I think I had them like 10. I had them winning the division, but I think only like 10-7. Like I was not really high on this group, and they looked a lot better than I thought they would this year. So, especially with the absence of Stephon Diggs, and like even when they got Amari Cooper, he really didn't do a ton after they traded for him. It looked like a nice move, but didn't really turn out on paper. So I have Josh Allen as well. He had a phenomenal year, and the Bills again, just come up short yet again.
It's funny when Amari Cooper and Devontae Adams got traded, we were like saying like which guy's gonna be more impactful. And we all thought it was gonna be Amari Cooper. It actually was Devontae Adams. The problem was Josh Allen is right now miles better than Aaron Rodgers. That's why that didn't even translate to wins, because Josh Allen is right now miles better than Aaron Rodgers. That's why that didn't translate to wins. But before we wrap up with the NFL, we got to talk about the Hall of Fame and Eli Manning. This is his first year of eligibility. He's up to be a Hall of Famer. As we all know, two-time Super Bowl champion. Two-time Super Bowl champion. Four-time Pro Bowler. Never was selected as an All-Pro though. Never was in an MVP race. But the durability was phenomenal. Had over 200 consecutive starts, and that streak would have lasted longer if Ben McAdoo didn't bench him for that one game. But the big question here is, and this is very controversial. Now, the debate, it should be a Hall of Famer or not. That's no debate. He's absolutely a Hall of Famer. There's no question about that. He's a Hall of Famer. Two-time Super Bowl champ, two-time Super Bowl MVP. And I'm not even saying that as a Giants fan. Top 10 in passing yards, top 10 in passing touchdowns. He definitely is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's had a Hall of Fame career. There's no question about that. But the big question is, should Eli be a first ballot Hall of Famer? And I've gone back and forth with this because there's definitely sides to the argument where he should and where he shouldn't. Where he should is beating so good in those postseasons, beating the Patriots twice, and being great in the postseason, being as good as he was in those two postseasons. That's on his side. The top 10 in passing touchdowns, the top 10 in passing yards, that's on his side. But you have the other side of it where he never was an All-Pro, never was even an MVP conversation. There was really only one time in his year you even talked about him as a top 5 quarterback, and that was kind of in that 2011 postseason, which was the best year of his career. He never even came close. He never sniffed being the best quarterback in football. So, listen, if I wasn't a Giant fan, I'd probably say no. But being a Giant fan and knowing that if he gets in, I'm going to go to Canton in the summer, and I'm going to go to Canton. I'm as a Giants fan. I know this was a close one, and if I wasn't a Giants fan, I'd probably say no. But as a Giants fan, I'm going to say yes. I think he's going to get in, and I think he should get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Justin, I know 13 years ago he beat your Patriots in the Super Bowl for the second time. Should Eli be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I don't think it should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I do think he should be a Hall of Famer. I don't think it should be first ballot because the other first ballot Hall of Famers since like 1990 are Dan Fouts, Joe Montana, Jim Kelly, John Elway, Dan Marino, Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Brett Favre, and Peyton Manning. I don't put Eli in that group.
Listen. I think he's better. I think he's better than Dan Fouts and Jim Kelly. He's definitely better than Jim Kelly. I'm sorry. He's definitely better than Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly had Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, and Bruce Smith. He had 3 other Hall of Famers he played with, and he didn't win a Super Bowl. I didn't know he got to 4 straight. He didn't win a Super Bowl, and he didn't even play that well in any of the Super Bowl games. The best game he played, the best he played in that Super Bowl, the best Super Bowl he played in was against the Giants, and that's because Thurman Thomas had a huge game. So if Jim Kelly's a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's definitely a chance there's definitely a debate that Eli should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you're going to say Jim Kelly's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and if you're going to say Dan Fouts a first ballot Hall of Famer, who didn't win a Super Bowl either?
No, he didn't. And I should have played my word back because I know quarterback era back then is a little different now. With the game's a little bit different than back then. But like even if you put him on with the Brett Favre's, even his brother Payne, I don't put him there. I know he racked up some huge numbers. No, and outside of 2 Super Bowl wins, did he ever have another postseason win, or did it was just in those 2 years. Now he got to the postseason. He got to the postseason in 2005. He got to the postseason in 2006, one and done. Now here's what people forget too. In 2008,
he could have very easily won back-to-back Super Bowls. If Plaxico doesn't shoot himself in the nightclub, he very easily wins back-to-back Super Bowls. Let's not forget that. In 2008, because the Giants were the best team in football, he was playing really well. That team was rolling. Their team was going to get to the Super Bowl. That Giants team was going to get to the Super Bowl, and then Plaxico shot himself, and the season fell apart because so the best receiver kind of screwed him there. So there is. Listen, I definitely listen. There's no. If you say he's not a Hall of Famer, that's nonsense because he definitely is a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt he's a Hall of Famer. But first ballot, I definitely could listen to an argument where he shouldn't get in on Thursday night. I definitely could listen to an argument. As you said, he's not. Listen, we never thought of Eli Manning on the level of as the guys who were in, as his brother, as Drew Brees, as obviously Tom Brady, as Aaron Rodgers, and then the other guys, even Brett Favre or John Elway or Joe Montana or even Dan Marino, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl, or even Dan Marino. We didn't think of Eli on that level. So you definitely have a point where he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You clearly do. I definitely could listen to that argument. But he is definitely a Hall of Famer. So I disagree with you. I mean, listen, if I wasn't a Giant fan, I'd probably agree with you that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's definitely a Hall of Famer. We might have lost Justin there. But listen, yeah, it's definitely an interesting debate. It definitely is. If he's first, we got Justin back now.
Yeah. Did I say I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer? Because I do think he deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
No.
First ballot. Okay.
No. You said he's a Hall of Famer. You definitely said that. I just think, Right. If I wasn't a Giant fan, I'd agree with you that he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But being a Giant fan, I kind of give him the edge a little bit there.
No, I get that. And again, if I was, I would probably give him the boost too there of wanting him. We all do that for our favorite team, for our favorite players. With on our favorite teams, so want to do that. So no, I get where you're coming from. I don't put them because you do think about the guys who are going to be first ballots coming up, and you mentioned with the quarterbacks, and I just don't have them in that category. And again, he had an unbelievable career. He put up big numbers. The durability was great because that guy didn't miss a game ever, and so I definitely put him in the Hall of Fame. I just don't think he's a first ballot, and nothing against him. He broke my heart twice, and that David Tyree catch is definitely still one of the. That one still hurts a lot. That catch still. I don't know how.
I bet.
I don't know how I can still hold on that ball.
I definitely get your point, and I said there's arguments on both sides. The side where he should be is the 2-time Super Bowl, the championships, the Pro Bowls, the durability, the passing yards, the passing touchdowns. But on the other side of it, where he shouldn't be is never being voted an All-Pro, never being an MVP. Missing the playoffs. Out of the 14 years he started, he missed the playoffs 8 out of those 14 years. He missed the playoffs 8 of those 14 years. So yeah, you definitely have a point. Now the 500 record, I think, is nonsense because they played him past his prime. Though that 2018 season, I almost don't even count because he should not have been the starter in 2018. He should not have been the starter. So I don't buy the 500 record thing. But you got great point. You have really good, but on the other side of it, you have the he never was an MVP. He never was an All-Pro. 8 out of the 14 years he missed the playoffs. So as a Giants fan, I definitely see the other side of this argument where he shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But something everybody should agree on is that he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserves to be a Hall of Fame, but I don't think he's a first ballot. Again, I think next year I'd have no problem with him going in next year. And look, he gets in. I'm not going to make a big fuss about it, but I'd be surprised? No, but he had 2 great Super Bowls and he knocked off. Again, arguably maybe the greatest NFL team of all time. So he does deserve a lot of credit there. Even though that I hate again, I always wondered if the NFL changed the rules back then where you played a division opponent week 17. I wonder if the Patriots played them early in the year. If that game. If the Super Bowl is a little bit different a result because they just played it so recently.
They played them recently, and they gave the Giants the Giants lost, but it gave them a ton of confidence going into that Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I was wondering that thing was like week 5. It's Super Bowl to maybe a different result there.
Say the Patriots beat them like 45-10. Would the Super Bowl be this result it is? That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Yes.
That because I think a big reason why the Giants were able to beat them is because of the way they played them in that Week 17 matchup. I think that was a big reason why the Giants were able to beat them, because that gave they had confidence after that first match. They had confidence after that first matchup that they could beat them the second time, and they did beat them the second time. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night if Eli gets in or not. It should be very, very interesting. But one of the craziest trades in NBA history happened on Saturday. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
So Saturday night was shocking. Was absolutely shocking. I thought Shams got hacked on Twitter. I thought it was a joke that Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers, but it happened. The Mavs did the unthinkable. They traded a top 3 player in the game in the prime of his career at 25 years old to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. So you pretty much saw 2 NBA players swap. You never see this happen. The big question is this the most shocking trade in really any sport that you've ever seen? And I'm going to say yes. You just don't see a trade like this happen. You don't see it happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think A-Rod was that when he went to the Yankees to the Rangers. Like, I think people kind of saw that coming. Like, I don't think it was that shock. So yeah. So like, yeah, I think it definitely was. Cause yeah, I was with you. I kind of thought he got hacked there for a while, and then he kept looking for another. Was someone else going to tweet about this? I think he ended up kind of saying, "I'm not hacked. This is real." And yeah, it makes no sense. And yeah, that was definitely one of the more shocking trades of all time. And hey, the Lakers look out again. They get another superstar that they can build around their future.
And that must anger you. That must anger you. That must anger you that the Mavs did this.
Yeah, it did. You can go through the list. They have LeBron, they got AD, they got Wilt, they got Kobe, they got Paul Gasol. That was a surprising one too. Right? Nobody saw that one coming from the Grizzlies. So like you can go down the line. So yeah, it just I hate to see it.
Yeah, I bet you do as a Kings fan. We'll get to your Kings, but I hate to see it. But the big question here is this the dumbest trade you've ever seen from Nico Harrison? This is the dumbest, and I think it absolutely is. How do you trade a 25-year-old superstar in the prime of his career, and listen, I think Anthony Davis is a great player. He's not on Luka Doncic's level. He's a guy who can't distribute, and he's a guy right now at this stage of his career that can't hit perimeter shots. And the NBA is a guards league, not a bigs league. And I know, the Mavs were concerned about his conditioning. He carried you to the finals last year. We forget the Mavs were in the NBA finals, and by far the biggest reason why is because of Luka. This is a horrendous move by Nico Harrison. And even more disturbing, Jason Kidd didn't even know. The head coach doesn't even know that they're trading their franchise player. This was a horrific move, and I do think it's the dumbest trade I have ever seen. And Nico Harrison should be fired after this.
Yeah, he should be. It was funny. He was taking pride that he kept it quiet with Pelinka. I'm like, dude, Pelinka played you like a fiddle, and you're like,
why are you taking pride in it? Why are you even admitting? Why are you admitting in the press conference that Jason Kidd didn't know? And even worse, you're admitting that Jason Kidd didn't know, and then you say you're aligned with Jason Kidd on players that you like. That's such a lie, because you wouldn't talk to him about trading Luka if you were aligned with him. That is so untrue.
Yeah, that was a bad look. Again, Jerry Jones should be sending him a thank you card because he gets some heat off him for a few days.
Yeah. Oh, Jerry Jones. People are going to get off Jerry Jones's back until for like the next 5-6 months because of this. Nico Harrison has taken the spotlight of being a bad GM away from Jerry Jones. They're not going to be talking about Jerry Jones being a bad GM until the season starts. Nico Harrison. This is mind-blowingly dumb. Mind-blowingly dumb by Nico Harrison.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely was. Like you mentioned, like like Luka, sure, maybe he's a little bit overweight, but yeah, he just carried you fine. I don't care if he's running down the court with a can of beer in his hand, chugging it. It's like if he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, a beer the Mavericks took away from him after they won the Western Conference. I'm not forgetting that.
Yes, I forgot about that. He's just such a bad look. Like, he's 25. And then, to think that with bringing in Anthony Davis coming in, like, you're winning now. Like, again, I know you beat the Thunder in 6 games. I know that's what they think. But, like, I know they beat the Thunder 6 games last year. But, like, the Thunder are a year older and all that. Like, it was just totally dumb. The only one that I could think maybe is dumber was the Red Sox trading Babe Ruth in 1920. But, like, that's the only one I could come up with.
It's terrible. It's terrible. They're saying that, we're built to win now. No, you're not. You have 3 stars. You have 2 injury-prone stars north of 30 with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. And now, Klay Thompson, and you got Klay Thompson now, whose best days are behind him. You're not built to win now. This is terrible. You could argue even with Luka on your team, that team's arguably not even a top 5, wasn't even a top 5 team in the Western Conference because of Memphis being better, because the Lakers playing better this year. You could argue that might not even be a top 5 team in the conference, even with Luka. Now, let me tell you, you're lucky if you make the play-in now with this move. Just a terrible move. But we'll talk about the Lakers first, and we'll talk about the Lakers. Where does this move put the Lakers in the Western Conference? And I'd say right now it puts them 4th. I still think Denver is better because obviously their size. I still think Memphis is better, and I still think OKC is better. But I think this puts them as the 4th best team in the Western Conference. If they make a move and get a big tomorrow, I think they could overtake one of those teams.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, I put them 5th. I think I'd still take Houston over them. I don't, because the Lakers are 22nd defensively. And you just lost Anthony Davis and
I would not take Houston over the Lakers. I mean, look at the star play. Look at the star players the Lakers have. I mean, if you're drafting a team, you're taking Luka and LeBron much way before you're taking anybody on the Rockets. I definitely think they're better than Houston. So, but go on. See what teams do you think are better?
Yeah, I have the other saying. I have like Denver, Memphis, OKC, so better with the Rockets. I don't know if the Lakers. Because they need size, as you mentioned. They also need. How are they getting stops offensively? Like, do you just trade your 2 defensive guys? You're already 22nd in the league. Luka's not going to help that out. You got a 40-year-old LeBron. I know, again, the great Saturday night in the Garden. But like, I just don't. How is this team going to get many stops? I like Houston. They're young. I like Sengun. Could be a tough matchup for him. So. I think they're 5th. I know defense doesn't I know that defense isn't huge, but like come playoff time in Game 6, Game 7, I'd like to can they make the big shot? I know you got LeBron, but can they make the big shot?
Good point. But listen again, as you said, offense is more important than defense. And in today's game, Luka is clearly a better player than Anthony Davis. But I think they're 4th. And the next question is are they title contenders? And I think they are. When you have Luka and LeBron, you've arguably top 5 players in the game. And Austin Reeves is a good player, and Austin Reeves is a good player too. I think they are. Now, would I say they're the favorite? No, but I think they are. I think they are title contenders. And even if they're title contenders or not, the best thing for the Lakers is they got their franchise guy for the next decade.
Yeah, I think the Lakers are contenders, but like this is definitely a move for the future. Like I don't think they're getting the finals this year. Yeah, you have LeBron and Luka, so like you never know what's going to happen. The Western Conference it's going to be an absolute gauntlet once we get to the spring. But yeah, it sets up the like if they don't win a title this year, it doesn't matter. Like you mentioned it, they're set up for the next 10 years with Luka Doncic as kind of their guy here. Their franchise guy here that they could kind of build around and guys are going to want to come to because it's LA and now you got Luka. So who doesn't want to play with Luka and who doesn't want to go play in LA? So yeah, Lakers set up very beautifully for the future and they didn't have to give up even like an Austin Reeves or Dalton connection. Like
they only gave up Anthony Davis in a first-round pick. That's why this is the worst trade. It's one of the worst trades in NBA history. It's one of the worst trades. I think it's the worst trade in NBA history. And Davis hasn't even played a game with the Mavs yet.
Yeah. Again, because at the time the Paul George to LA, like we didn't think Shea was going to turn out to be like an MVP guy.
Yeah.
And like all the draft picks they gave up for that. But yeah, like that's the only other one I would say is going to end up as badly as this trade's going to probably happen. So yeah, I'd probably put this one close to it, but especially if OKC went the title or two. Then I think that one could pass it, but yeah, this is definitely probably the worst one of all time.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this is the worst trade of all time. And the big question for the Mavs is are they going to be able to get in the playoffs? Are they going to be able to get in the top 8? Are they going to be able to get through the play-in tournament, get into the top 8? Not only do I think they missed the playoffs, I think they missed the play-in tournament. I think they missed because look at what it's done to this team. Look at their game on Sunday. They got destroyed by the Cavs. Last night they lose again to the Sixers. So I don't think they make the play-in. I don't think they do. I think you make the play-in tournament. I think this is such a major blow to the Mavs. I don't think they make the play-in tournament, and Nico Harrison gets fired at the end of the season.
Yeah, I agree with Nico Harrison gets fired. I think they make the play-in. If AD, Kyrie, and Clay could play enough on the floor together, then I think they can. I think there's enough talent there. But that's a big question. Like they're in a big kind of log jam right now with the Kings, Suns, Warriors, Timberwolves. They're only a game and a half back by. So I could see them in it. Especially because I'm not too keen on my Sacramento Kings the rest of the way here.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah, so they could knock them out of the race here. We'll see what Golden State does the next 24 hours in the Suns, but I do think they get into the play-in. I don't think they get farther than that. And if they do, I think they bounce in the first round.
Yeah. I completely agree. I don't think this team is going far, especially after this trade. But now we'll get to your Kings, and they had an interesting trade on Sunday. The Kings traded Fox to the Spurs for the Kings got 3 first-round picks in return and Levine. So I think they got a pretty good return there. But I'm going to give your thoughts on your trade. What are your thoughts? You talked about Fox. We talked about Fox last week as a Kings fan. What are your thoughts on the Fox trade?
We got fleeced because that Hornets pick is a top 14 protected. So that's going to turn into 2 second-round picks. So that's not going to mean anything. And I would have loved Castle and Devin Carter in our backcourt in the future. That would have been great. I knew we probably weren't getting Castle. I was hoping for Jeremy or Devin Vassell or Jeremy Shoshan. I was hoping for one of those guys. You couldn't even land one of those. It's Zach LaVine, who they've been in love with for the past 8 years. Vladdy Divac tried to sign him. That's how far it goes back to their love with him. Him and DeMar DeRozan didn't fit in Chicago. They were playing team at best in that awful Eastern Conference. They couldn't get out of play-in. Now you expect them to get out of play-in in Sacramento in the Western Conference. Good luck with that. How are we going to get it stopped? I can't stand it. I know Monty McNair is having his press conference as we speak, so I don't think we're having another move now. I can't imagine. They had John Collins 2 weeks ago. Then they were like at the last second, no, we're going to try to for Cam Johnson again. Where's Cam Johnson? So with the Nets, you could have used him against the Knicks. You could have used him the last couple weeks, but no, we can't pull the trigger because we're too scared. But now we get fleeced by San Antonio. I don't like it. I don't see a future. I don't see a guy we could build around in the future right now. And it's 15 more years of purgatory. And if we make a play-in round the next 15 years, they should throw a parade because, again, this franchise can't do anything right. They just never will. They never have. Enjoy what you have with the Knicks. I know they haven't been great either. And I got so mad 2 years ago when they lost the Warriors and they kind of told me they were content, with the way they spent that offseason. They did nothing. And I was so angry of all last year. And I wish I enjoyed it because, again, we're going back to 25 wins years. And that's what we're gonna have. I'm so angry. Monty McNair's out. I assume at the end of the year, we'll see if Del Creasy gets a job or not. They played well against Minnesota, but Minnesota hasn't looked as good as they did last year. So I don't know. Levine and Monk, and they got a ton of athleticism. They should be fun to watch. I don't know how we're gonna be putrid. We're undersized still. We only have one wing and Keegan Murray, so I'm angry, but hey, good for Fox. The guy wanted to go to stability. He got out of the circus that's called Sacramento. So good for Fox. He's gonna, it's a bummer to go see him succeed with Wemby and Stephon Castle, but hey, I don't blame him for a second. You got to get out of this organization. They don't do anything good for your career.
No, they don't. And the big question is, which team will wind up with the better record, Spurs or Kings? I'll let you answer it first. I think it's pretty obvious which answer you're going to give.
I do think the Kings end up with the better roster because Fox, he busted one of his hands during the training camp, and then he just broke one of his thumbs a couple weeks ago. So his shooting numbers are down. I don't think he's probably going to get surgery to the end of the year. So, you're probably not going to get the best version of Fox until next year. I think the Kings edge him out record-wise, but, I think it's only a game or so. But I think for the future, I think that'll be it, though. San Antonio will run past them the next 5-10 years. So I think this year the Kings will, but obviously in the future, San Antonio will have the better record than them.
I think it's gonna be the Spurs. I think they're gonna make a run, and I think the Kings are gonna lose games. I think it's gonna be in the even they're only three. I know they're in 8th, and the Spurs are in 12th, but I think they overtake them. I think it's gonna be the Spurs. I think the Spurs will end up with a better record. And you said it, the Kings should never have traded Fox. They traded their franchise player. I know they got first-round picks, but just again. But you see a Mikal Bridges with the Knicks, they got 5 first-round picks. So teams are getting they only get. It's crazy to say only 3 first-round picks, but you're seeing where a lot of these stars, these top players are going. They're going.
They only got 2. The Chicago got their own pick back, so it's only 2031, and the Hornets top 14 protected, so they only get 2031.
Yeah.
So it's a Timberwolves one.
So again, unimpressive return, and just not good. Just not a good time to be a Kings. As you know, not a good time to be a Kings fan. But we'll move on to the Jimmy Butler saga. And the big question here is what are the chances Butler gets traded at the deadline? And this is getting to a point where I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to do it. I mean, they were talking with he wants to go to the Suns, but the Suns have to trade. They want Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal will waive his no trade clause. Butler, they were going to do something with the Warriors, but he refused to sign an extension. I'm getting to a point. I don't think it's done. And it's crazy to think of it, but I don't think it gets done.
Yeah. Right now, it doesn't seem like thinking back now, it doesn't seem like he's playing hardball with kind of the only team wanting to go to the Suns. I know the Grizzlies were interested in him. I know that it sounds like the Grizzlies still are, even if he doesn't resign there. But I know Butler said he wouldn't resign with them, and I know he didn't even want to with the Warriors. So if you're only really going to one team, it's kind of tough to try to figure it all out and get it done. So if he just wants to go to Phoenix somewhere else, it quite possibly maybe he is stuck on the Heat and maybe he's stuck on the bench the rest of the year, and that's his own doing.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think he could be stuck with the Heat, but it could be definitely be trending in that direction. And also, we've heard KD rumors about KD getting traded at the trade deadline. I know HB is aggressive, but I still don't think this happens. There's actually rumors about him and the Warriors having a reunion, but I still don't think this happened. I still think KD stays put. I still think he stays in Phoenix.
Yeah, I think so too. I know that owner, and this is maybe why they find a way to get Butler done, because that new owner is very aggressive, really wants to win a championship so badly that maybe he'll do whatever he'll have GM do whatever it takes. But I think it's a very slim possibility that he gets traded. But no surprise, KD wants out of another spot. That's just how it goes. And the NBA is more off the court's more interesting than the actual on the court play.
Oh, it's been that way for a while. It's been that way for a while. Yeah, when was the last time we've actually talked about the on the court play? I don't think we've talked about the on the court play since opening night. we've talked a lot about
Yeah.
we've talked the last couple weeks about the off the court play. But yeah, it's definitely a league. It has been this way for a while. That the off the court play is talked about a lot more in the regular season than the on the court play.
Yeah, no, it is, and hey, I guess they say relevant. Like they stole the headliner Sunday, Monday. Well,
They definitely stole the headline of the
week.
Super Bowl.
Yeah,
They definitely. I mean, that's the first time they stole the headlines of Super Bowl week in a long time. But yeah, they definitely. I'll give you that. They definitely stole the headlines of Super Bowl week with the Luka AD trade.
Yeah, so hey, said and Silver's probably not complaining though. So he's probably not complaining about that. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, but hey, that's some problems with the NBA regular season. So it's always more interesting league, especially in July when free agency opens up, and it's baseball should learn that too of how interesting your offseason can be when everybody literally signs within the first $40.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have people signing 4 months in between. Don't have free agency last 4 months. Maybe baseball should learn that. You know, that's another thing we haven't talked about in a while. You almost forget what free agents are on and what team because of how spread out free agency is in baseball. That's another issue in itself. But yeah, the NBA, they definitely have stolen the headlines with this Luka AD trade this week, and with the trade deadline coming up on Thursday. But before we wrap up, we got to talk some UConn basketball, and they got a nice win on Saturday night. You know, I was kind of down on them. They were losing to DePaul. Funny, you heard Boober in the first half against DePaul. How crazy is that? Two-time national champion. You weren't at the DePaul game, but you heard Boober.
I was not.
You heard the Boobers, right?
Oh, I did. I think that was that. But I was so I can't say the word on air. I don't understand it. You've won back-to-back national champion. The last time they did it was 2016 against Houston. They scored 12 points in the first half.
You understand that. You understand that.
No, I don't. I do not think you should ever boo college kids. They're not professional. I know they get paid now, but still, you can't boo college kids. That's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It made the UConn fans look awful. So I couldn't stand it, but I didn't even boo that Ollie team that they were down 36-12. I was at that game. It's the day they hired Edzo back. They had no Adams, 36-12 at the half, and people are booing. Like, I don't believe you should ever boo college kids. I really don't. So that was absolutely classless. That was such a black eye for UConn fans. The few that did it.
Yeah. But they were able to win that DePaul game, and they surprised they had a surprising win against Marquette there. You know, they beat Marquette 77-69. You know, still in that race for the top team in the Big East. And speaking of the top team in the Big East, St. John's comes to Storrs on Friday night. Big game. Rick Pitino, teams won nine in a row. But for me, I feel like they're a little overrated. They can't shoot threes. They play great defense. They're well coached, but they can't hit perimeter shots. And I think that's going to hurt them on Friday night. I think it's going to, and that's why I think the swing streak ends Friday night. I think is McNeely back on Friday?
Hurley made it sound like he should on Saturday night, as long as there's no setbacks.
Yeah, so I think McNeely's back. I think they hit threes. I think UConn wins this. I think they end St. John's' winning streak. I think St. John's is the best team in a conference that's not that good this year. So I'm going to go with UConn. I think UConn wins it Friday night. I think they win, around maybe, I'm going to say like 71-67, 71-66. I'm going to go. I think UConn wins on Friday night.
Right. Yeah, I do think UConn gets it done. I think, again, my one worry is, man, they got to rebound the defensive glass. St. John's had 25 offensive rebounds. Marquette only had 20 total rebounds last night. Like, St. John's best offense is them crashing the glass and getting opportunities, their second chance opportunities. Yeah, the 23% this year from three. They don't take a ton of them. They only shoot about 25% of the time, I think, right around there. So it's a Rick Pitino team that plays like they're pests offensively. They're lengthy, like Kadari Richmond and RJ Louise, like they're both 6, Richmond 6'6", Louise is 6'7". Like they're gonna put a lot of pressure on your guards. Zuby Ejiofor is like 6'9", 250. But like if he gets switched off to a point guard, he can hang. Like they're very athletic. Zuby Ejiofor made a huge difference. He took a huge step this year. In the right direction. And look, you kind of worry because they will force some turnovers. Duar's not healthy at all. Like he could barely move Saturday night, and that's all they had at point guard. Like Mahaney had a bad night. They had 25 turnovers. They somehow still won a basketball game, and the regression happened finally for opposing teams' 3-point shooting. So I do think UConn wins it at home. Gamble should be rocking. It's $2 beer night. Ben Gordon's going into the Husky of Honor.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it's gonna be rocking in there. I do think they get it done, but man, it's gonna be a physical, old school Big East game, and UConn better come to play offensively because St. John's can get they have a lot of athleticism, so they can get to the basket, but you got to let them shoot their threes. And hey, if St. John's knocks 6 or 8, 7 or 8 threes down, UConn probably be in a lot of trouble.
No, I agree. They definitely could be. Now moving on to Tuesday's game at Creighton, and I think this is going to be a really tough one for UConn, especially if they win the St. John's one. I think they're going to split here. They're going to split one of these two games. I don't think they're winning them both. I think it's hard for this UConn team to beat 3 top teams in the conference in a row, and they're going on the road. And Creighton beat them in Gamble. And don't forget, Creighton's had UConn's number. They beat them last year. That was their worst loss of the season. When UConn played Creighton in Creighton, that was their worst loss of the year. They lost by they almost lost by 20 points at Creighton, last year's team. I think Creighton definitely wins this. I think Creighton wins this one. I think Ashworth has a big game. I think Neal has another big game. Cal Brenner's good inside. Creighton's red hot right now. If they had Pop Isaac, I think it'd be the best team in the Big East. It would actually be the one team I think that would be. I think they would have the best chance to make a run in the Big East if they had Pop Isaacs. But I think Creighton, even with Pop Isaacs out, I still think they win the game, and I think they win it. I think they win it. Maybe 7 to 10 points, but I do think Creighton wins here on Tuesday night, and we'll be recapping it on next week.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. Creighton's kind of been the house wars. I think Creighton's 8-2 against UConn now, 9-2, something like that. Like McDermott's had a really number since coming back in the Big East. And McDermott's a really good coach. That his teams get better throughout the year, and you've kind of seen it. Like Jeremiah Neal's has stepped up. Jackson McAndrew's been a nice freshman, kind of at the 4 spot this year. That's kind of a stretch 4. In that first meeting, even coming off that, they had a week off when they played Creighton, and it was kind of disappointing. They missed some shots. Creighton, Neal was just kind of, had no conscience that first half. I think he was like 6 or 7 that first half. He let him with 24 in that game. It's gonna be a tough one, but look, nobody really thought UConn was going into Marquette Saturday night win that basketball game. I know some of it was ugly, and they let Marquette back in that game, but maybe it's a team. And look, I feel a lot better. Maybe not a lot better, but I feel better about this team now after the win Saturday night. So they needed a win like that, and I think Hurley kind of knew it, and he kind of said that in the press conference it was a huge sigh of relief there just to get a win like that because this team really needed it conference-wise. So, look, they won Friday. You go 2-1 in this 3-game stretch. I'll take that. So, they're right back in the mix in that Big East title. I don't know if they're going to win it, but, hey, you go 2-1 now in this stretch. You give yourself a chance. So, I do think Creighton gets them by a handful. I think KenPom's got Creighton as like a 6-point favorite. So I think that's probably they lose right around there. But they're gonna have to knock down shots. I think Creighton last year they were like 60% from 3. Like they were unconscious that night. They did not have a great defense for UConn, but Creighton just could not miss. So especially too because that game pool last year they held them like 40 points. Like that was probably the best defense for one of the best defense performances they had all of last year. So it's gonna be a tough one. That play's gonna be rocking. It's probably their $1 beer night in Creighton next week, so they'll be amped up, ready to go. So, and Hurley's had a history with that crowd.
Oh yeah,
I think he got into it last year. He got into it with one of their fans last year. So, we'll see. Creighton's had a tough one tonight in Providence. They're starting to play better. So, and Creighton, I think they won 6 straight.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting game at Providence. That's going to be an interesting game. I know Providence isn't that good, but that's going to be an interesting game at Providence tonight. But that's going to wrap it up on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin and Afrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week recapping the Super Bowl, pretty much recapping the first. We'll recap the trade deadline and talk about the first half of the NBA season as they get to the All-Star break, and we'll be recapping UConn's matchup with Creighton and talking about their matchup with Seton Hall. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meek, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.